3, 2, 1. Or is it 1, 2, 3? 3, 2, 1. That's better for a countdown, right? Okay. Cool. 3, 2, 1. And go. 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 Alright, so hey everyone, I'm back. It's Chris. If you don't know my name by now. I've been meaning to pump out videos. I thought when I started video blogging or whatever this is called, that I would just be churning them out, but life happens. So that is not the case. Nonetheless, stick with me. I am another person who is going through the same gang stalking community harassment experience, unfortunately. And this video is about calling it Psych Patient 101. Psych Patient 101. 101 because it's my first time ever in the world being in a psych ward. Okay? And this all pertains to gang stalking. So I'm going to kind of read off my paper for what I wrote so I can keep it in order as much as possible. Alright, so it's like, remember that time in band camp? Like American Pie, but remember that time in the psych ward? Yeah, it's kind of like that. Alright, so this is that, or should I say, remember that time when gang stalkers / cops set me up? Yeah, that's kind of what it was. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys all about how things went down. First of all, this was during the time that all of my devices were being heavily hacked and or compromised. One night, I tried to beat them at their own game and get them off of my network as well. I quickly left my house and asked a neighbor to borrow her car. At the time, I didn't think she was a gang stalker, but I'm almost certain that she is or was at this point. Side note, she also had many cars. She drives or she rents out Lyft cars to for people to drive. So I knew this as well, and so when I asked her to borrow a car, she said go ahead. She obliged me, she gave me the keys, and I hurried and drove off. For hours I just sat at the hospital parking lot till I got thirsty. At this time, very late into the early morning, and as such, it was pitch black out. And at this time, I headed off on the half-a-mile drive to 7-Eleven, which was on the opposite side of the road after a quick U-turn. As I approached the light where I am set to turn, it is obvious that I am being followed and circled by a bunch of mostly black, if I can recall properly, but there were other colors, but mostly black SUVs and newer model cars, all with tinted windows and round side marker lights. I don't know if you've seen those little circle lights that are down by the tires, like 80% of them. Something you would never see in the day-to-day driving without it being a synchronized act. About 80 to 85% of them had the little side mirror lights. Okay, so where was I at? I think I was at. Alright, oh yeah, they had the side mirror lights. And at the same time, I could tell that someone kept trying to pair with my car, with my vehicle. And I decided to stop my car and turn it off completely to stop it from pairing. Whoever's trying to pair, stop them from trying to pair with me. And so I turned it off, turned it back on, turned it off, turned it back on. And after a while, I realized they weren't going to stop doing that. So I stopped my car completely, and I set up this. I had purchased this red LED SOS light, and I flashed that on. Right? Yeah, I flashed on the red LED light, and I sat there for about, 5 to 7 minutes, and each time that I would flash the light, the red LED light, from afar, they would dismantle the alert. They would somehow kill the red LED part of the bulb or the light, and all that would show was the clear white part. After I got sick of them killing the light, I decided, forget it. I don't even want anything to drink at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and go back to the hospital where I was sitting at. So at this point in time, I go ahead and I'm already at the light. I make the U-turn that would have taken me right there. I was at 7-Eleven, but I'm taking the U-turn just to go back to where I came from. So I make the U-turn. Shortly after I make the U-turn, from a side street, a all-black car with a guy in it, I think a white guy, um, looked like a cop. He says, "Pull over." And I said, "Huh?" He says, "Pull over." And at this point, I'm trying to assess, like, is he trying to help me? Does he think that I'm having issues? But I'm like, no one, that's not how you greet anyone if you don't mean trouble or if there isn't trouble. He didn't say it's a cop. He just simply said, pull over. And when someone approaches you like that in the middle of the night, what's your first instinct going to do? I go to smash the gas. As soon as I go to smash the gas, I realize that not only had this black car that Spencer had to pull over was on the side of me that came out of that side street, but a white car had come right behind me and it was like telling me right up on my tail. And I try to, you know, I try to skirt off. And I'm not getting anywhere. But the white car is still toe and toe with me this entire time. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Why can't my car move? I just keep smashing the gas, to the point where now the tires are smoking. Ultimately, I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Who are these people? How are they stopping my car? And I don't drive with shoes on, so I took my shoes off and I already had my shoes off, but after realizing I can't get out of this, I can't drive my car, I'm not getting back to that hospital, I jump out the car and I run across the street and I'm yelling help while I'm running zigzagging across the street. And I'm still at the same time, once I make it across the street, back to the side where the hospital is on, but a half a mile from it, I'm just really, I pause because I'm in disbelief of what's happening. And then I say, okay, Christian, well, you have to do something. So I run and I keep running into this wooded area where there's some apartments. And where the apartments are, there was a fire alarm on the side of them. I knocked on a few doors, nobody answered. So I pulled the fire alarm because I don't know where these people are. I don't know what they're trying to do to me. I don't know any of why any of what's happening is happening. I just know it started with me trying to get away from, trying to keep them off my phone because they were heavily hacking my phone and getting this person's car, and it all spiraled into whatever this is. So nobody answered the door. I decide to pull the fire alarm. I pull the fire alarm. Next thing you know, all the people are coming out of their houses, and I'm in a panic, and I'm telling them somebody has stopped my car. I don't know how. My car is over there in the middle of the road, and I'm running over here. I need some help. Can somebody call the cops? So somebody calls the cops, apparently. The cops come. Now, the cops are, I'm just going to skip by the pleasantries. The cops were in it, and it was obvious that the cops were in it, but based on how they were treating me. So I'm panicked, and I'm trying to keep my composure, but I'm trying to tell the cops what happened, and the whole time they're just coming at me like, why would you pull a fire alarm? Why would you? And I'm like, if someone is chasing you down the street randomly, you're going to pull a fire alarm too. Now, keep in mind, I don't have any history of any psychotic acts, any psychotic breaks, any psychosis, any nothing. You're not going to expect me, and nobody's going to expect me to jump out of a car and run down the street in the middle of the night. It's just not in my personality. So where were we? So the cops are just coming at me. And then ultimately, they're like, do you have any chest problems, heart problems? I'm like, no. They say, do you have any health issues? I say, yeah, but I don't want to scream out my health issues in front of all these people. I said, can you call my mother? Can you call my mother? And I can't remember if ultimately they did or not. They wouldn't call them right then. They just kept drumming at me. Why did you do this? Why? Nothing's wrong with your car. Nothing's wrong with your car. And I said, I don't know what they did. All I felt was something connect to my car. I felt something connect to it. And then I tried to drive off really fast. And I didn't get anywhere. And so I don't know if they flattened the tire. I don't know. But I know my car wouldn't go. And somehow they stopped my car from moving. Cops saying, your car's fine, your car's fine. And they started, where's the key, where's the key? And just going, just hyper, assholeish, for lack of better words. So they tried to, and I had a bag of stuff in my car as well, personal items, because it was not my car, but I had a bag and personal items in this person's car that I was driving. So the cops, ultimately, they say, well, you seem like you're out of it. We're going to take you to the psych ward. I said, I'm not out of it at all. And I don't want to be another person killed in the streets because, especially another black person killed in the streets because of a misunderstanding. They're like, oh, shut the hell up. And so I'm like, all right, Christian, you're going to have to, go with the flow, but you are not in Kansas anymore. So now all four cops grabbed me. They walked me over to the car. They put me in the car. They're giving me these hard, crazy stares. There was one that's just looking at me like if he could right now, he would beat the hell out of me. Black guy that stood out because he was the only black guy there, but there was I think four of them all together. They asked me, can they put the cuff on me, blood pressure cuff. I said, don't touch me. He starts putting it on me anyway. I said, I told you don't touch me. So he's like, oh, I thought you said it was okay. And then they get real friendly. And they're like, oh, so where are you from? And what do you usually do? And all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not telling you guys anything. You guys already know what's going on here. And so before we leave, they come to the back of the hospital, the ambulance truck, and then the guy throws my password book at me. I had a whole bag of things back there, and the password book was in it. Instead of bringing me my whole bag, he comes and throws my password book at me. Keep in mind, all my digital stuff has been being hacked. So he throws my password book at me, and then they take me off to the psych ward or the mental health hospital or whatever. So I stayed there under watch and I was let out early because the doctor actually said that she believed that what I said happened, or that something happened, and I didn't exude any signs that any other thing had happened or had occurred. I didn't have any history of, any psychotic issues, and so ultimately they let me out early. But I just wanted to share that story because obviously that now gave me a record of going to the psych ward and being in the sweet spot right where they want all of us either dead or appearing crazy. So, yeah, that was it. And hopefully this story and any other story that I share helps to shed some light on the situation. Maybe you recognize my story in one of your stories, or your story in one of my stories, and we can pull together and say, hey, that happened to me, or hey, I recognize those kind of cars that was happening to me, or I got set up and sent to a psych ward. And we can open up that dialogue because some of the things that I know that are happening are repetitious. They're not just doing, even though they do different things on all of us. I also know that it's systematic, right? Right, it's procedural. So there is a method to the madness. So whoever else is having being done to me happen to them, it's happening in a similar fashion. Is what I'm guessing. Might not be exactly the same, but it'll be the same enough to where you'll recognize my story and say, hey, that was happening to me. Like this lady, I read her story about a whole bunch of cars, one after one, just coming up and blinding her, one after one. And that's when I first was like, I thought it was something else entirely going on with me. I thought somebody was trying to steal cryptocurrency from me until it just wouldn't go away and kept getting more and more crazy. And then I started reading stories about different things that I was noticing happening to me. And I read this lady's story, and she was just talking about how how she was driving and car after car was turning their brights on her. And she knew that, something was wrong because even the way that the cars were driving was not in the typical type of traffic pattern that was typically in that neighborhood or that area. When I told my son about the situation, I said, a bunch of cars are turning their lights at me. And at first I thought I was just going crazy. And then I noticed, hey, the pattern of traffic they're driving over here is not the typical pattern of traffic. They're going down side streets, and then I started noticing the same cars were coming back around. I started noticing the cars all look similar. There was a multitude of similarity in the cars that were going by, cars and trucks. So the more and more we can come together and say, hey, that happened to me, or I had that experience, or I recognize what you're saying, it's important that we share these stories and these incidences with one another. So that is my incident. And I don't know what the initial goal was, but I know I believe once I pulled that fire alarm, it threw off whatever the ultimate goal was going to be for that night, whether that was just to scare me to run out of my car and then leave the car there. I don't know. But when I pulled that fire alarm, they had to improvise. And in improvising, the cops were also in it with whoever those cops were who initially put me over, or I don't know who they were, CIA, FBI, but they were professionals. They were not the little gang stalkers that you see when you're driving in your car and then they flip you off and give you the evil eye to let you know that they're one of your gang stalkers. It wasn't them. This was a professional. These were professionals in professional vehicles. So, yeah, I just wanted to share. Hopefully this helps to relate to someone else. It's a story, or help to let someone know at the very least that you are not alone. Let's get some dialogue going. Subscribe, like, share. Tell someone else to subscribe to my channel. Like, share. Look out for Charlie. Like, I want to mention his name because he seems to have great content. And I see a couple other people who seem to have great content. The more and more that we come together, and the more and more we're not afraid to say names, like Sergeant Guzman, I've mentioned his name before. He's one of my gang stalkers. Sergeant Guzman. I got to get his first name again because I lost it. But he's one of my gang stalkers in Florida. He's a male. I said he already. But yeah, Sergeant Guzman, he's a gang stalker. We got to be able to say these things out loud and connect to one another. Because it's the only way that we're going to be able to pull together any real evidence. Because as much as I can appreciate seeing people filming different cars in different areas, I'm going to be honest with you. From the outside looking in, a lot of times it just looks like people going around filming cars and saying, see, that car is watching me. So, and that can be helpful too. But that's how it can look. So we need to have people who understand the science of this, people who are telling personal stories, people who whatever their experience is, they can show something in how the repetitiousness of the cars. Is that a word? I don't know. but I'm going to use it for today of the cars, and it can make sense to where they can present enough evidence of where someone goes, well, hell, these cars shouldn't be lined up here at this time of night. There shouldn't be a zillion electricity vehicles lined up or hidden behind, this or that store. Why would they be there in the first place, So we need everything. We need everybody to speak up and speak out. You gotta use your voice. That's all we have. With that, this is 20 minutes, and it's probably 20 minutes too long. Hopefully it doesn't get too boring and it's not too choppy because, yeah, I'm new to this and never expected myself to be doing this. But I am, so, with that said, I bid you adieu. I hope you're having a fantastic weekend, even though it's over. If you have to go back to work this week, I hope you have a fantastic work week. I hope Monday feels like Friday and Friday comes even sooner. All right, that's all for now. Thank you and have a wonderful day.